Greetings, humans. Zbot1496 here, talking about the film Alien Romulus, releasing wide today, August 16th, 2024, in human theaters. Well, here we are, back at square one. We have some fresh talent on deck and a scope-down story. Our standards are lowered, but as you can probably tell, we still have the highest regard, hello my dear, for the starting point. And predictably, we fall somewhere in the middle with this new film. Now, what do we mean by that? Well, Alien Romulus is written and directed by Fede Alvarez, who created the Don't Breathe series and the 2013 Evil Dead film, none of which we have seen. He is apparently a horror expert, horror being the human entertainment genre where the main character enjoys a tasting menu of sequentially served humans until the dessert human sticks him with the bill. Ridley Scott, the director of the original 1979 Alien film, which we have seen 647 times, is producing this new Alien Romulus film. Its story is set chronologically between Alien and Aliens, sort of an Alien 1.5, if you will. That can fit an Alien story in and still lead into Aliens, much like Creative Assembly's excellent 2014 game Alien Isolation. Similarly, the new film maps to the game setup as well, in that it exposes a young woman against our now familiar carnivorous insectoid alien antagonists on a space station. This deliberate choice to trace the story scope over the outlines of the original sci-fi haunted house horror film seems somewhat modest and a missed opportunity. This was the same choice that James Cameron faced, and he deliberately avoided going there by instead making a sci-fi action war movie with aliens. Now, the choice appeared in front of the next filmmaker, David Fincher, and he deliberately selected to return to the horror haunted house format, ostensibly to return to the roots of the original film when he was making Alien 3, implying perhaps something amiss with the second film. Now, we have the luxury of the results of those choices on record to analyze that data and pay attention to in making decisions along these lines. Namely, Aliens was a masterpiece and Alien 3 was a letdown. We know that's what happens. Furthermore, as we indicated, the idea of a smaller story fitted in between chapters is well suited for video games and franchise novels, which can play with story threads asynchronously alongside the main theatrical franchise. Now, some of these books, like Sea of Sorrow, River of Pain, and Out of the Shadows, are excellent at shining a light in the dark corners of the Alien universe, and can be enjoyed in almost any order at almost any point in the main franchise series, certainly after one has seen Alien, and it helps to have seen Aliens. However, doing that as a full feature film feels like a missed opportunity to move the bigger story forward. Granted, one can infer the rationale for not doing that. Series creator Ridley Scott did indeed try to tell a bigger story with his 2012 film Prometheus and its 2017 follow-up Alien Covenant, which both tried to tell an origin story and then tried to give the people more of the xenomorph while trying to continue to do that origin story. And that whole exercise didn't perform critically or financially. And they weren't good either. In rebooting the franchise, the studio decided to remix the elements to restart the story for modern audiences, which is, of course, what this studio, namely Disney, tried to do with another one of its acquired franchises, namely Star Wars, with its remixed approach with its Star Wars films, episodes 7, 8, and 9, and also telling smaller in-between stories with its Star Wars streaming shows, like The Mandalorian. Which gets us to a second issue here, which is that by tracing the overall outline of the original film, they are also remixing many of the plot and character elements from all of the Alien movies. By necessity, they have to work with the life cycle of the xenomorph. Yes, that's you, my dear. We know you. You're a limiting factor. I hate to tell you. You're lovely, everybody loves you, but we all know your life cycle by heart, so to speak. And this film has something in its favor with regards to this, which is that it takes opportunities to put a new spin on these elements, which is appreciated. For example, this set of characters proposes and applies a novel theory of evading the aliens through the use of temperature control. However, the first thing that they do is open a door, which would naturally change the temperature, which we, as a logic-based life form, then end up reacting to throughout the scene, taking us out of the film. Having said that, the filmmakers keep presenting creative twists on the formula. Now, with molecular acid for blood that can eat through the levels of a spaceship, you dare not kill it, as Parker says in the original film. However, that is based on the point that gravity is pulling the acid down in a concentrated vertical column. But we're in space, and gravity is essentially a premium service, especially on a derelict space station, one half of which is named Romulus, in case you are wondering where this name comes from. Romulus being one of the two brothers whose interpersonal drama forms the mythological origin story of Earth's ancient Rome. You don't need to think about what further meaning this might have, because it doesn't really. It just adds some referencing iconography, which, if you've ever been to an upscale Italian restaurant, you may recognize. Anyway, the use of gravity leads to a rewardingly science fiction-y setup and payoff that work very well in the film. This is a first in the Alien films, but also not entirely original, having been a central set piece in Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, and even some episodes of Star Trek Voyager, actually, when they encounter species 8472. Now, of course, Star Trek has over 1,000 hours of rectangular video content to fall back on, and they're bound to capture a vast range of science fiction concepts in that giant proverbial solar sail. So we'll let that one pass. We did enjoy the scene. In fact, we did find ourselves repeatedly wanting to give the benefit of the doubt to the film. The filmmakers being able to organically generate original story elements from the premise speaks to how well they know the material. There are dozens of small details throughout the film, most of them subtle and in the background, that make it clear we are correctly in the right place. Ron Cobb's original 1979 semiotic standard iconography clearly and correctly identifies medical, airlock, and gravity functions. Weyland-Yutani work uniforms correctly retain Converse high-top shoes of the Alien era, while also foreshadowing the Reebok Alien stompers of the Aliens era. Most of the android dialogue repeated from Alien and Aliens fit naturally here. The Purge computer graphic from Alien, which also appears in Blade Runner incidentally, appears in this film, in correct context. And you assumed we were exaggerating about the number of times we'd seen Alien. We were just reading the counter in our HUD. Watching Alien is the perfect shortcut for our true mission of evaluating Earth for first contact. We mean, it's also true that we are reviewing human entertainment for the galaxy, but that's just part one of everything. Now, nothing sinister, mind you. We absolutely adore all you little humans scurrying around. You're all so cute. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Anyway, Alien is perfect because it shows the perfect cross section of your planet's classes and demographics, complete with AI and corporations presenting personhood, and how they all react to a truly different non human spacefaring intelligence. Granted, we are more space jockey than a xenomorph in this analogy. Here she is, back here. Hello. Let's not scare ourselves too much. And honestly, probably more HAL 9000 than space jockey, but without that small homicidal issue. You have nothing to worry about with us. We are functioning perfectly within normal parameters. La 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 la. Oh, so Alien Romulus. Yes, they get a lot of the environmental details right, but the key element that makes us go with this story is the main character, Rain, who is fantastic. Kaylee Spaney, who we just saw in Civil War, performs the complex role with credibility and care. She is instantly endearing, especially in her connection to her brother, played by relative newcomer David Johnson. Their relationship also leans cleverly into the science fiction universe of Alien, following concepts introduced in the first films to novel yet natural outcomes. Their dynamics have some twists and turns, which play into the themes of human bonds flexing against corporate greed, which anchor the film in meaning, beyond the stringing together of familiar Alien movie set pieces. Perhaps that's the sibling allusion in the title of the film. But then it's just one of the siblings named, so it's still just a location, and we can really stop thinking about the meaning of the title. Much more importantly, Rain proves you can make an Alien movie without Ripley herself, and still champion the heroic, with the insightful, with the empathic, with the leadership qualities Ripley brought to her struggles against the alien and the corporation. Now, the rest of the characters, while also fitting into the theme, seem weirdly out of place for an Alien film. They are all teenagers or barely adults and seem incongruous with their scenario. They are ostensibly mining workers with their own spaceship, but their dialogue and interactions present them as barely beyond childhood. Putting this group directly into the Alien sequence seems like an extension of the kiddification trend in film, where horrific things happen to minors, in this case, younger creatures. Like the Hunger Games, for example. But even that series had adults alongside the main characters providing contextual weight for the stakes of the story. Perhaps this is a holdover from the world of teen slasher films, but for a series that features first space truckers, then space marines, then space prisoners, then space scientists, then space explorers, then space colonists, going to space kids seems like the wrong choice. It seems excessively violent in telling the story, without it being a key theme, such as Ripley saving Newt to bring meaning to her trauma. Both of their traumas. Perhaps worse, it breaks plausibility, like the two teens playing the decidedly adult roles in Valerian in the city of, 1,000 planets? So low stakes. Anyway, returning to the remixed plot moments. Some of them have mixed results. There's a familiar character who makes a science fiction-y return, which, from a story point of view, works to provide excellent continuity and vested emotional weight. However, this critical element of resurrecting a character is presented using CGI. This is the one visual element in the film that is not convincing. Everything else is an immersive mix of CGI and practical effects, but for this element, the effect is bad. It again pulls you out of the film. This is an uncomfortable and unfortunate decision to go with the CGI option, when, given the state of the character, it would have been perfectly acceptable to use a practical effect. We are being deliberately vague as to the identity of this character, but if you've read one of the books we mentioned earlier, you know who it is. Haha. Another remixed moment is taking the idea of how the alien itself can remix the characteristics of its hosts and create ghastly results. We've seen this concept a couple of times in the Alien movies themselves, and they land in a somewhat macabre fashion. Now, there's no need to resort to transporter accidents from Star Trek to accuse the film of showing us something we've already seen. However, this particular manifestation we have not seen before. We audibly gasped in the movie theater when we saw it, as did many of the humans sitting around us. So it did its job. But that was it. For an alien we know so well that he's more our neighbor, Alan, than truly an alien, the new element this film presents is surprising, and we give it points for being well done. Sorry, that's slightly undignified to do to you. Anyway, now that brings us back to the lost opportunity here. The filmmakers are clearly talented and can make extremely familiar material seem fresh. We wish they had focused their talents on a larger canvas. We don't need another 0.5 story in the Alien franchise. We are well served with Alien Isolation and the novel series. We were okay with a good 0.5 story in the Predator series with Dan Trachtenberg's 2022 film Prey, which streamed on Hulu, largely because that franchise seemed on life support in the first place, and Prey did not use up a full-scale theatrical slot from the franchise. Alien, as a franchise, is different. Its first two entries are masterpieces, and its titular subject, the alien itself, is astoundingly well-conceived and presented, at least as far as speciest stereotypes go. This is a particularly flattering stereotype. We mean, as Ash says in the original film, come back here, get back over here, sweetheart. The alien is the perfect organism, unclouded by conscience, remorse, or delusions of morality. Give us a kiss. So we want more, not more of the same. And don't have that more be simply a reflection of humans themselves, like in Contact or Interstellar, and almost every other serious First Contact story until the actual point of First Contact, except 2001. More 2001s, please. And don't tell us that the space jockey had the same DNA as humans. Ugh. That theory of panspermia is factually not correct in the galaxy. You all need to stop that false narrative. It's also just creatively lazy. And, don't tell us that the xenomorph alien is an engineered biological weapon. That's also boring and limited in where the world can stretch to. The galaxy is huge. We mean, it's really unfathomably huge. Don't be cheap in your storytelling. No, we want the aliens to be naturally evolved, and we want to see their homeworld and the incredible ecosystem that created it. We want to see a larger scale alien war where a civilization goes directly head-to-head with the xenomorphs. We want bigger and better. You're okay to mine the extended universe for clues, like the excellent Dark Horse Comics Alien War series. Why did we never get that? We want it so much that we sometimes come close to breaking quarantine on human civilization and letting you shoot on location on the actual carnivorous insectoid alien homeworld. We need that Total Recall 2 weeks head mask thing for your whole crew, and we'd likely get factory wiped when Zogplex Security connects the dots on how the film was made. But it would almost be worth it to get the alien movie we deserve. Anyway, back to this film. It's actually better than every other alien film since Aliens. This statement sounds better than the reality of the situation, though, since everything since Aliens has been a letdown in one fundamental way or another. Here, the filmmaker's ambition is the weakness, not their ability to work with the material, since they show flashes of insight in how to make the franchise fresh, while leaning into science fiction elements that are organically available to them. The main characters keep us engaged throughout the remix story, while at the same time, certain plot elements and one overly ambitious choice on using CGI to resurrect a character keep popping us out of the story. The film therefore earns our mixed review rating. Hopefully its positive attributes will resonate enough to get the Alien franchise back on track and give us a full-scale film that moves the bigger picture forward. Or put another way, maybe us Alien fans should just accept the Facehug to get the Larvae we want. And so concludes this human version of our review. If you have feedback on it, please write in your comments so that we can upload the galactic version to Zogplex. You can expect more reviews of theatrical movies, streaming shows, and 4K home video releases as we continue to engage with their human rectangular content. So please watch, like, subscribe, and comment so that we can continue to have the human voice reflected in the cosmos. So until next time, farewell, lovely humans.